We are happy to be doing another year of this partnership with Preborn because you guys have been so generous after the last few years of this partnership, because for as little as $28, you could provide the ultrasound that saves a child's life as soon as today. $140 might save 5 babies today. I would argue also may save mama's soul, because I do think it does a unique diminishing of our souls when we murder our own offspring. And that's sometimes why you've seen some of God's harshest disciplines against his people when they have collectively engaged in this kind of behavior. So let's keep this going. You can make your tax-deductible donation today to the 5-star charity known as Preborn, and it's as simple as preborn.com/Steve. That's it. Every dollar goes to help save babies. Preborn.com/Steve. Head over there today. Head over to preborn.com/Steve. Let's welcome in our good friend, Bob Vanderplot's. Good to see you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Good luck to you tonight. And the Big Ten and Michigan. Should be a fun ball game, but I don't see anybody that's stopping them now.
Well, I appreciate that. Our league has not won the NCAA men's tournament since 2000. No, we hadn't won the women's tournament since 1999, but our league won that yesterday.
That was a blowout.
Are we counting UCLA? I know they're in the league, but isn't this still just odd?
It is odd,
yeah.
But they won, and they're Big Ten, so
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, right. All right, so we have arguably the greatest program of the 21st century so far. UConn's won, 6 national championships since 1999? And if you look at the metrics on places like Ken Palm, we might be the best team in the 21st century. So these two things are going to collide tonight. It should be something, no doubt about it.
The best team wins.
Well, that usually happens when elections take place as well. It's usually not necessarily the most correct team or the most moral team, but the best team, the one that executed its message, first of all, found the right message, and then executed that message into what mobilized voters, usually wins, right? And one of the things, so I wanted you and I to discuss, what messaging are we running on this year? I mean, the midterms are 7 months from tomorrow, right? And I don't believe that there's a reason why the party in presidential power almost always loses midterm elections or is lucky to even get a stalemate. And the reason why is because when you're running in an executive election like governor or president, you are affirmatively choosing one of two people that you have that you size up individually, and often determining how much do I really want to look at this person on my screen for the next 4 years, right? But when you get to off year or mid-year or midterm elections, a lot of times you don't have to do that. And if you just don't like something or the direction of something, you don't even have to consider who the guy running against your congressman is, because you're typically voting to send a message to the person that sits in the White House that's kind of the face of all of this, one way or the other, right? And that's worked in our favor. It worked in our favor against Bill Clinton. It worked in our favor against Barack Obama. It's worked in their favor against Donald Trump. And the polls are showing it may work in their favor again. And so it is, if you look at the one midterm election that Republicans have won in modern times with a Republican president, it was George W. Bush coming out of 9/11 with an affirmative view of how we should now defend our country after 9/11, right? So I don't think we can hold serve in the midterms on just simply, here's how radical the Democrats are. I think we'll more mobilize our base than it currently is, but I don't think that's going to be enough to win. Let's start with that point first. Agree or disagree?
Well, I definitely agree. Matter of fact, I go back to the last election, 2024. And in 2024, you had the Biden administration, Kamala Harris. You had a just complete crap show, so to speak, on that side. Not only was it incompetent, and the people of this country were seeing incompetence at every step of the way as they watched their TV, but they also saw their agenda as crazy. And you combine crazy and incompetence, you're like, why would I go there? But with President Trump, and President Trump is arguably probably the 21st century's best spokesperson, best candidate out there to mobilize, energize people. And he's given a message of common sense. He's also exposing the crazy and the incompetence, but he's saying, come back with me. We're going to end these wars. We're going to do all this on day one. But he had a very positive message that would unite Americans around that campaign. We don't see that today. Matter of fact, when I take a look at it, I think, as Stevie, you and I have talked about before, on the national level, seems like we're divided on about everything.
Mm-hmm.
State levels, we're divided on about everything. And the Democrats, in my opinion, especially in our home state of Iowa, they're united on one big thing, and they're letting all their things that divide them kind of filter away. The one big thing that they're focused on is winning. We need to win. And so that's why they're staying united. And I think, I told you this about our own governor's race in the state of Iowa. We need to have a vision. We need to have a positive message. Rob Sands out there giving his agenda, whether you like it or not, he's at least giving you an agenda. And I believe the 2026 election has to get beyond President Donald Trump, Speaker Mike Johnson, John Thune, whoever else saying how bad it was in 24, and now at least give us another shot in 2026. I think that people are paying higher gas prices at the pump, at the grocery store. They are completely underwater with this war in Iran. And so there's a lot of things that are dividing people to say that I'm energized to go vote in the midterm election.
Right, because if you're not going to fix the things that you supposedly were going to fix that won you the last election, then just running on how crazy everybody else is won't work, at least not to the critical mass of voters you need, because the obvious retort is, well, when you had the power to do anything about this, what did you do, right? And hey, those of us who work in this arena for full time, we're well aware of what Trump's up against in Congress and everything else with his own party.
And we also know the long play. There's a lot of long plays here. The problem is the American people isn't into long plays.
No.
They're to immediate satisfaction. What have you done for me lately?
Right. And on one hand, you can't on one hand go to the electorate and say, well, we were going to get these things done for you, but I didn't have enough Republican support in Congress. Well, you had majorities. Why would that not be enough support? Well, you need more of the very people that didn't do what you wanted the first time. It doesn't. On the other hand, it doesn't. You're trapped. And so here's what I think needs to happen, and get your take on this. One, we're taking on now so much political liability. The polling on this thing, with everybody outside of the most hardcore Trump voter, the polling on the Iran thing has tanked in the last week or two. People are tired of it. At this point, though, I would actually say, barring an invading force on the ground, stay as long as it takes now at this point. You cannot have the Iranian regime come back in 4 to 6 months, and then you go to the American people a third time and say, well, guys, we had to go back. You can't do that.
Cannot do it.
If you were going to go in at all, you have to do something now that makes it very clear that they are Chernobyled to some degree. All right, that's step one. Otherwise, all of this political liability we took on for Epic Fury will be pointless.
Right.
Number two, when we come home, there needs to be a clear level of relentlessness in terms of messaging and execution from this White House and the Republicans on the domestic front, as we have seen on Operation Epic Fury. We cannot be seen. If you're worried about certain forces like Tucker and Candace demoralizing our voters, you cannot hand them the talking point, we fought harder for Israel than we did our own country. You can't just hand them that talking point. You can't do that. So whatever short of the max of what the Constitution will not permit you to do everything else as ruthlessly as you possibly can to advance your own agenda on the domestic front, to relieve, to make the American people feel like they are a priority again. Those two things, I think, are the first two steps anyway, into turning around the direction of things. But what are your thoughts?
Well, there's a couple things there. First of all, how did we get here? And there's leadership axioms, and one of the leadership axioms is under promise but over deliver. Meaning, when you're casting a vision for something, under promise, over deliver on the results. Steve, when we went into Epic Fury, the first thing we heard was this is going to be like a 2-week war. 2 weeks in, out, done. We're going to decimate them, and we got it done. That 2 to 3 weeks turned into another 2 to 3 weeks. Looks like it's going to turn into another 2 to 3 weeks, and the people are just kind of tired. But it's because it was overpromised, and not saying it was under. I mean, our military has been phenomenal here. Israelis' intelligence has been phenomenal here, and what they have done. But the problem is we were never getting out in 2 to 3 weeks. But we cast that vision, we're getting out in 2 to 3 weeks. Now what we need to do is say, okay, we went in back in June, remember, when we bunker bombed them. Now we're in again, but this time you have got to finish it. You have completely to decapitate it. You have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Right away, people need to start seeing oil prices drop, what they're paying at the gas pump go down. They need to see a safer America, not a more dangerous America regarding international travel as well as being here at home. Those are things that they need to realize. And message, yes, but message real results. See what you're paying at the gas pump today? It's no longer $3.80 a gallon, but it's down to $2.42 a gallon. That's a result. You see what we did is we decapitated this evil regime. The entire Arab world, who doesn't really even like Israel, they're excited about it. Israel's excited about it. We are a safer world today. And that's why these international flights have opened up. But there's got to be things that are tangible results here versus saying blame it on the Democrats, because, Steve, you're exactly right. The American people are smart enough to know that you had a trifecta here to move the agenda the way you wanted to move the agenda. Now you need to be able to claim results and then cast a new vision by why they want to stay with you.
But that means we got to get some results.
You have to get results, especially when it comes to Iran.
We have got to, we have to negotiate with John Thune and leverage John Thune with at least some of the aggression that we have leveraged foreign entities like Iran. I mean, we just have to, and we have to, and the amount, there needs to be way more political capital by this president and this White House and this political team. Way more political capital expended on moving John Thune than trying to get rid of Thomas Massey in a congressional primary.
No question.
And I'm not a libertarian guy. By the way, I've known Congressman Massey for years.
Yeah.
I love him to death. Don't agree with him all the time, but I love him as a human being.
A great guy.
But the reality is he still votes with the president like 91% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of capital that is being expended in energy to get rid of him, when in reality, it's John Thune has 84 appointments to the federal bench and to the federal government that, as we head into the halfway point of the second year of the Trump presidency, still hasn't gotten approved. The SAVE Act and everything, which is the number one legislative priority of our base. All right, the amount of capital being expended on Thomas Massey compared to moving an agenda through the United States Senate. I'm sorry, and I can say this because my paycheck doesn't rely on Donald Trump or 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. All right. So I don't have to just take a crap sandwich and then go message it to people if I don't believe in it.
Yep.
Right. This is a terrible expenditure of political capital.
Horrible.
And getting an agenda passed and getting your people appointed to their positions to enact your agenda is going to have way more of a say whether or not you're just doing impeachment palooza all of next year than whoever the hell whichever Republican represents Thomas Massey's district does. That's just a personal axe to grind. And I get it. He's provoked you the whole step of the way. We don't have time for this. Yeah. Right? We have to get our agenda passed. Yeah. Way too much capital being expended on crap like that.
I totally agree with the Thomas Massey, but take a step back. Think about this for a second. As much as there was applause and cheers from the base when Kristi Noem got replaced, she got terminated. She's going to a different level of government. This whole deal with Corey Lewandowski, this Homeland Security stuff, it's over. We're putting adults back in the room. People cheered that. And then you get a look at Pam Bondi. You're not prosecuting anybody. Nobody's going to jail. The Epstein file collapsed. The whole deal. So Pam Bondi steps down. And people cheer that. Can you imagine if President Trump put the political capital to say, we're removing John Thune? John Thune's done. Take another vote. You guys can vote anytime you want on who your leader is. Get rid of John Thune. If he's not going to advance the SAVE Act, if he's not going to do the very things that we're asking the Senate to do, like get my judicial appointments confirmed and put somebody in there like a Ted Cruz or whoever, you name the rock star senator you want, but put somebody in there that the whole world knows it's a new day, and you put your political capital on that. Thune cannot be allowed to play these games anymore. Because you're right, the SAVE Act, that's a big deal for our base. If this can't get passed, I'm not sure how you're going to motivate them to come out to the polls in the midterms.
So I've got about 2 minutes here. The president called you tomorrow and said, "Hey, we're getting ahead of this, and what the domestic messaging and everything is going to be. once Operation Epic Fury wraps up here in the next 30 days or so, right? What would you say?
I would say you got to make America affordable again. There are too many of the middle class, to say even below middle class, they can't afford anything today.
And those are his voters, by the way.
And this is
the PhD, the white collar people are not voting for Trump. It's the people you just described.
This is a real deal. They're going to their gas pump today, and this is hurting them. What used to cost me $40 now costs me $62. That's a big deal. When I go to the grocery store, or if I can afford that new home, or if I can get that new home loan, you need to make America affordable again. So it's the kitchen table economics, right? They get around the kitchen table, they're going, we are way better off under a President Trump. But things have got to get resolved quickly. So right now they're getting around that kitchen table, they're going, listen, I can't afford the America that I'm in today. And I think we're a more dangerous America than what we were because of all the narrative going around the Iran war. Those things aren't helping. Get Epic Fury done. Close out this deal with Iran. Make sure you win. Make sure you're successful, that this doesn't linger ahead back in October. But then you got to make America affordable again. And you have to send a message to rural America very much as urban America.
Thoughts really quick, gentlemen, before we get out of here? Got about a minute left.
You know people across the country. Is there any leverage from the state of South Dakota in people that you know to apply to John Thune? Or are they just so addicted to we saw signs with Kristi Noem up there. She couldn't even stand against transgenderism because of what the corporal wanted to say. Is there any going after them locally?
Well, I think there's some going after it locally, but you know what? Thune is almost so insulated from all of that right now. He needs to have a target placed on his back by the President of the United States. Stop the smoke and mirrors. Stop playing games. I want my judicial appointments approved. I want the SAVE Act advanced. If you can't get it done, give me a leader to get it done. Because now you'll have South Dakota residents around John Thune calling on that as well, but you'll have all of America calling on that as well. He needs to deliver that message versus saying John Thune's just a great guy. He needs to be a great leader more than a great guy right now.
Good stuff, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
All right. God bless you. All right. When we come back, it's going to be your turn to ask me anything. Looking forward to another round of questions. These came in from our followers over on Facebook, Todd. You've had a chance to curate them. You've selected the ones you think we should answer.
There's a lot of them. No way we get through all of them, and I'm sure over time we'll take care of the rest.
All right. We'll do that here when we come back. Stay tuned.